In the previous video, we had studied that force is the push or pull of objects. We have also seen that force changes the shape of an object. Also, force changes the state of motion of an object. So, in today's class, let us study about types of forces. Forces are mainly categorized into two types. They are contact forces and non-contact forces. First, let us know about contact forces. Contact forces may be of two types. They are muscular force and frictional force. Tell me, will you be able to change the position of this box without even coming in contact with it? No, that's not possible. You need to come in contact with the box, that is, either directly by pushing it with your hands or indirectly by pulling it with the help of a rope. Basically, I can say that you require force to change the position of this box. What is this? A bucket of water. Tell me, will you be able to lift it without even coming in contact with the bucket? No, that's not possible. You need to come in contact with the bucket. That is, either directly lifting it with your hands or indirectly by pulling it with the help of a rope. Basically, I can say that you require force to lift the bucket. Also, to do your daily physical exercise, you require force. But where does this force come from? This force is required to push a box, to lift a bucket, to hit a nail with a hammer, or to do your physical exercise. All of this force comes by the action of muscles. The force resulting due to the action of muscles is known as muscular force. You also know that animals like horses, bullocks, etc. make use of their muscular force to carry out physical activities and to perform other difficult tasks. You know that a ball rolling along the ground gradually slows down and finally comes to rest. Do you think there is any force acting on the ball? Yes, it is the frictional force between the surface of the ball and the ground. And this frictional force always acts in the opposite direction of the motion of the object, that is the ball. You also know that a car can rest when its engine is switched off. Even here, it is the frictional force between the surface of the tire and the ground that brings the car to rest. And this frictional force always acts in the opposite direction of the motion of the object, that is the car. Do you know there is friction between your shoes and the ground? Without enough friction, you may slip and fall. But if there is enough friction, then you can move safely and stay balanced. By this I can say that friction is a force that comes into play when two surfaces are in contact with each other. Hence, we can define friction as the force which opposes the relative motion of two surfaces in contact is called as frictional force. Now, let us discuss about non-contact forces. Non-contact forces may be of three types. They are magnetic force, electrostatic force, and gravitational force. I am sure that you have seen how a magnet attracts different magnetic substances. You also know that unlike poles of magnet, they attract to each other, whereas the like poles of the magnet, they repel each other. Now, do you think there is any force acting between the iron nail and the magnet? Yes, it is the magnetic force which attracts the iron nail towards the magnet. The force due to the magnetic field of a magnet is called as magnetic force. Now, let us perform a small activity. Take a piece of paper and make small bits of it. Now take a comb, that is a plastic comb. Now rub the comb onto your hair for at least 10 to 15 seconds. Now take the comb very near to the small bits of paper. You can see that the bits of paper gets attracted to the plastic comb. Do you think there is any force acting between the comb and the paper? Yes, it is the electrostatic force. The force exerted by a charged body on another uncharged body or an uncharged body is known as electrostatic force. Here, the charged body is the comb which gets charged when you rub it to your dry hair, and the uncharged body is the paper. You have seen that the fruits and the leaves, they fall to the ground when they get detached from the plant. Have you ever wondered why it is so? You also know that when you throw a ball upwards, it always falls downwards towards the ground. Did you ever think, why does the ball always fall down to the ground? Why doesn't it fly up in the air? It is because Earth exerts force and pulls all the objects towards it. This force is called as force of gravity. It is like Earth is pulling you and keeping you on the ground. It is due to the force of gravity that you are able to stand on the earth. Otherwise, you would just be flying like this bird in the air. Also, it is due to the gravitational force of the earth that the moon is revolving around the earth. Gravity is not a property of the earth alone. Even the sun has the gravitational force which makes all the other planets to revolve around it. Now we can define the gravitational force as every object in the universe attracts every other object, and this force of attraction is called as gravitational force. So in today's class we have studied that there are mainly two types of forces. They are contact forces and non-contact forces. The force resulting due to the action of muscles is known as muscular force. The force which opposes the relative motion of two surfaces in contact is called as frictional force. The force due to the magnetic field of a magnet is called as magnetic force. The force exerted by a charged body on another charged or uncharged